Can Mozambique's new president govern the country? Daniel Chapo has been sworn in, pledging to promote unity in a nation scarred by post-election violence. After months of unrest with hundreds killed, the opposition has declared its intent to paralyze Mozambique for his entire term. Chapo was declared the winner of the election held in October, but the main opposition candidate, Venancio Mondlane, contested the result, insisting the vote was rigged.
Military fanfare as a new president is inaugurated in Mozambique. The man taking the helm, Frelimo's Daniel Chapo. He leads a party that has run the country for 50 years, a party accused of corruption and poor governance. Despite this, he promises things will change under his leadership.
We need social harmony to deal with the concerns of the Mozambican people. That's why the dialogue has already started, and we won't get tired until we have a united and cohesive country.
In contrast to the official celebrations, the mood around the country is somber. Businesses remain closed and people stayed indoors. Few here are happy about the new president. For 2.5 months, Mozambique's major cities saw protests like this, with thousands challenging the election results. In the lead up to the inauguration, police kept protesting groups small. With 300 people dead so far, they've been accused of being heavy-handed.
Why are you killing us? We are Mozambicans like you. This is our country. We are tired of so many deaths. Every day you kill the population. Why is that? Why? We have our rights. What kind of Mozambicans are you?
She and many others believe opposition leader Venancio Mondlane won the presidential election. After his political advisor was killed within days of the vote, Mondlane fled the country. Now he's back, and he's vowed to make Chapo's presidency difficult.
If it means paralyzing the country for the entire term, we will paralyze it for the entire term. Let's see how they plan to govern this. Which people do they think they're governing if they're killing the very same people? What kind of dialogue do they want when they're shooting and killing people?
But momentum around the protests has decreased. And political analyst Albino Mangene says opposition parties need to come up with new strategies.
It's necessary to develop another way of fighting, perhaps through negotiation, to allow reforms to be introduced into the Mozambican state. Instead of fighting for power, it's necessary to press for more general reforms.
Chapo says his first task will be to reform the government, but his first challenge will be to restore calm to the country.
From the capital, Maputo, I'm now joined by Professor Adriano Nuvunga, Director of the Center for Democracy and Development in Mozambique. Professor, remind our viewers, if you could be so kind, who is Daniel Chapo essentially, and how did he rise to power?
Thank you very much. Well, Daniel Chapo is a civil servant, in fact. After he concluded his law, he became a district administrator, and later he became a provincial governor. And he, as part of Frelimo party, and he was elected, surprisingly, in May. His election, it came up as, that context where the big names, they cannot agree on whom to elect, and then Chapo came in as a compromise candidate, so to say, and was inaugurated. He read a very good speech, promising to do things right, to set things right, and it's a difficult context for him. The country is immersed in its biggest ever political, post-election, economic, social security crisis.
As our report made clear, and as you are right to point out, there are many challenges ahead. Will Daniel Chapo be able to govern in this environment?
We have seen in the past situations where Frelimo retained power in such divisive context, fraudulent election, massive violent protests, people losing their lives, and Frelimo retained power. The major problem and difference between now and then is that while in the past it was centered around the former rebel movement, Renamo, today this is a mass-based protest. It's a mass-based movement of saying enough is enough of failed governance, of corrupt governance by Frelimo. Will Chapo be able to start a new era of Frelimo governance? People are skeptical, and so the question is whether Chapo will be able to tell his comrades within the party and say, it's over. It's over. Now Frelimo is to work for the people. That is one thing. The second thing is this country is immersed in such a big crisis, economic, financial crisis, debt crisis, and you don't know from where the money will come from to fund development, for instance. So with all this happening, his only chance is to enter in an inclusive dialogue, an inclusive governance, to bring all the stakeholders together. Will his part allow him to do that? We have to wait and see, but people are skeptical.
Well, they're skeptical partly because opposition leader Venancio Manlana says the election was stolen and doesn't recognize Chapo as the rightful winner. He went so far as saying, and I want to get this quote right, "We'll protest every single day if it means paralyzing the country for the entire term. We will paralyze it for the entire term." Can the opposition still mobilize and continue their protest?
We have seen similar situations in the past, as I've said, where President Dhlakama was able to mobilize massive protests not for the entire term, but at least for a year and a half, which forced some sort of changes, which were then lost. So they are indeed that space for people to come out, also because there is nothing out there. The country is bankrupt. The few resources available are being deviated through network corruptions by a small Frelimo elite. So there is a lot out there that Venancio can mobilize on. What we see out there is a police that is shooting people, is shooting to kill. That is what is detaining people. But we have seen resistance, resilience from the people. So we think there's a great deal of a legacy here in terms of democratic consolidation and building that is centered on the people and the youth of this country, and Maputo in particular.
Professor, is there any way out of the conflict, or are the divisions and wounds now too deep?
The wounds are too deep. They are too deep. And the difficulty to reconcile, to build reconciliation, is because Frelimo will not change. They now believe that they got it, and it will be the same business as usual again, which I've seen in the past. Because that's how Frelimo is, party dependent. Fraudulent election, violence, targeting, then they retain power. So they seem to be saying that they got it again. So this might be the thing that will make it difficult for the nation to reconcile.
Got it. That is Professor Adriano Nuvunga, Director of the Center for Democracy and Development in Mozambique. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.